I had it muted. Thank you for letting me know. Good thing you text me. Um, but anyway, so the grandkids got to come up and see us where we camp, and that was awesome. They got to see where my son has been camping his whole life. So, but this year is different. He and the kids and his girlfriend are going to be doing their own thing for 4th of July. So um, we weren't worried about being up there the whole time, anyways. But anyway, long story short, we came home on Tuesday. Um, then after we got my mom's truck back to her and the husband got home, they had just said over the news or whatever my parents were watching, it said that they went into fire ban up there. So, not an ideal place to camp without being able to have a fire. So, I'm glad we came home um, because it's cold up there at night and you're going to want a campfire. So, anyways, we're right up there right on the mountains. And so it's cold up there as it was during the day, especially on Monday, it was cold all day. And we were contemplating on going home on, we decided on Monday that we were going to go ahead and wait until Tuesday and see how the weather was. And we slept until 9 o'clock that morning, and I woke up sweating. But that did not last very long. It got cold soon afterwards, so I'm glad we came home. Anyways, long story short, we cut it short and came home, and it is what it is. And like much to do with AA, you go with it. Um, Life happens on life terms, and we can't change it. So, anyways, I'm Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So eventually, I think my sponsor will be in either of the chats soon. I'm going to say because she was over here on the phone side, and I don't know where she went. So maybe she will catch up with us sometime while this meeting is going on. Anyways, my sister is coming up on 8 months, or 8 months, 11 years this month. So, pretty excited about that. And as always, please be mindful in the comments and the chat that not everybody here is a recovering alcoholic. They might be here to support my channel. Hey, Desert Adventures. They might be here to support my channel or help a friend or family member in need. Either help themselves learn how to talk and deal with somebody that is becoming a sober person in the beginnings or what have you. Ways to deal with all of the in and out of addiction and becoming sober and living a sober life. So, which is why I do it here on YouTube and Facebook for free. It's something that I receive for free, and I am supposed to share it as far and as wide as I can. So, here we are. Okay, one. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And I always put in the description what we are reading, what story, chapter, step, tradition, whatever it is, what we're reading, the page number, and all that good stuff. So, but if you don't have a book, don't worry. I'm going to read it anyways, and you can listen if you want, chat if you want to. If you don't, I understand. Not everybody wants everyone to know that they are struggling with an addiction or whatever. So, if you're new here, welcome. Keep coming. It gets easier as you work your steps. So, we are in the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book on step 9, page 83. Make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Good judgment, a careful sense of timing, courage, and prudence. These are the qualities we shall need when we take step 9. After we have made the list of people we have harmed, have reflected carefully upon each instance, and have tried to possess ourselves of the right attitude in which to proceed, we will see that the making of direct amends dividends creed will. Sorry, I want to read that whole thing over again. Those we should approach into several classes. There will be those who ought to be dealt with just as soon as we become reasonably confident that we can maintain our sobriety. There will be those to whom we can make only partial restitutions, lest complete disclosures do them or others more harm than good. There will be other cases where actions ought to be deferred, and still others in which, by very nature of the situation, we shall never be able to make direct personal contact at all. What I was talking about on Tuesday. most of us being begin, I think. There you are, Tony. Figured I'd find you, or you would find us. Most of us being making certain kinds of direct amends from the day we joined Alcoholics Anonymous. The moment we tell our families that we are really going to try the program, the process has begun. In this area, there are seldom any questions of timing or caution. We want to come in the door shouting the good news. After coming from our first meeting, or perhaps after we have finished reading the book, Alcoholics Anonymous, we usually want to sit down with some member of the family and readily admit the damage we have done by our drinking. Almost always, we want to go further and admit other defects that have made us hard to live with. This will be a very different occasion and in sharp contrast with those hangover mornings when we alternated between revealing ourselves and blaming the family and everyone else for our troubles. At this first sitting, it is necessary only that we make a general admission of our defects. It may be unwise at this stage to rehash certain harrowing episodes. Good judgment will suggest that we ought to take our time. While we may be quite willing to reveal the very worst, we must be sure to remember that we cannot buy our own peace of mind at the expense of others. Much the same approach will apply at the office or factory. We shall at once think of a few people who know all about our drinking and who have been most affected by it. But even in these cases, we may need to use a little more discretion than we did with the family. We may not want to say anything for several weeks or longer. First, we will wish to be reasonably certain that we are on the AA beam. Then we are ready to go to these people to tell them what AA is and what we are trying to do. Against this background, we can freely admit the damage we have done and make our apologies. We can pay or promise to pay whatever obligations, financial or otherwise, we owe. The generous response of most people to such quiet serenity will often admonish us. Even our severest and most justified critics will frequently meet us more than halfway on the first trial. This atmosphere of approval and praise is apt to be so exhilarating as to put us off balance by creating an insatiable appetite for more of the same. Or we may be tipped over in the other direction when in rare cases we get a cool and skeptical reception. This will tempt us to argue or to press our point insistently. Or maybe it will tempt us to discouragement and pessimism. But if we have prepared ourselves well in advance, such reactions will not deflect us from our steady and even purpose. After taking this preliminary, I think that's what it is. Now I lost where I was at. There it is. Preliminary trial at making amends, we may enjoy such a sense of relief that we conclude our task is finished. We will want to rest on our laurels. The temptation to skip the more humiliating and dreaded meetings that still remain may be great. We will often manufacture plausible excuses for dodging these issues entirely, or we may just procrastinate, telling ourselves the time is not yet. Yes, you're on there, right? Telling ourselves the time is not yet, when in reality we have already passed up many a fine chance to right a serious wrong. Let's not talk prudence while practicing evasion. As soon as we begin to feel confident in our new way of life and have begun, by our behavior and example, to convince those about us that we are indeed changing for the better, it is usually safe to talk in complete frankness with those who have been seriously affected, even those who may be only a little or not at all aware of what we have done to them. The only exception we will make will be because where where our disclosure would cause actual harm. These conversations can begin in a casual or neutral way, but if no such opportunity presents itself, at some point we will want to summon all our courage, head straight to the person concerned, and lay our cards on the table. We needn't wallow in excessive remorse before those we have harmed, but amends at the level should always be forthright and generous. There can only be one consideration which should qualify our desire for a complete disclosure of the damage we have done. That will arise in the occasional situation where to make a full revelation would seriously harm the one to whom we are making amends, or, quite as important, other people. We cannot, for example, unload a detailed account of extramarital adventuring upon the shoulders of our unsuspecting wife or husband. And even in those cases where such a matter must be discussed, let's try to avoid harming third parties, whoever they may be. It does not lighten our burden when we recklessly make the crosses of others heavier. Many a razor edge question can rise in other departments of life where this some principles is involved. Suppose, for instance, that we have drunk up a good chunk of our firm's money, whether by borrowing or on a heavily padded expense account. Suppose that this may or continue to go undetected if we say nothing. Do we instantly confess our irregularities to the firm in the practical certainty that we will be fired and become unemployable? Are we going to be so rigidly righteous about making amends that we don't care what happens to the family and home? Or do we first consult those who are to be gravely affected? Do we lay the matter before our sponsor or spiritual advisor, earnestly asking God's help and guidance, meanwhile resolving to do the right thing when it becomes clear, cost what it may? Of course, there is not pat answer or no pat answer, which can fit out all such delirium or dilemmas, not deliriums. Words are hard today. But all of them do require a complete willingness to make amends as far as may be possible in a given set of conditions. Above all, we should try to be absolutely sure that we are not delaying because we are afraid, for the readiness to take the full consequences of our past acts and to take responsibility for the well-being of others at the same time is the very spirit of step 9. I'm going to go ahead and read some of step 10 because that was just short and short. 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. As we work the first 9 steps, we prepare ourselves for the adventure of a new life. But when we approach step 10, we commence to put our AA way of living to practical use day by day, in fair wealth or foul. Then comes the acid test. Can we stay sober, keep an emotional balance, and live to good purpose under all conditions? A continuous look at our asset and liabilities and a real desire to learn and grow by this means are necessities for us. We alcoholics have learned this the hard way. More experienced people, of course, in all times and places, have practiced unsparing self-survey and criticism. For the wise have always known that no one can make much of his life until self-searching becomes a regular habit, until he is able to admit and accept what he finds, and until he patiently and persistently tries to correct what is wrong. When a drunk has a terrific hangover because he drank heavily yesterday, he cannot live well today. But there is another kind of hangover which we all experience whether we are drinking or not. That is the emotional hangover, the direct result of yesterday's and sometimes today's excesses of negative emotion, anger, fear, jealousy, and the like. If we would live serenely today and tomorrow, we certainly need to eliminate these hangovers. This doesn't mean we need to wander morbidly around in the past. It requires an admission and correction of errors now. Our inventory enables us to settle with the past. When this is done, we are really able to leave it behind us. Then our inventory is carefully taken and we have made peace with ourselves. The conviction follows that tomorrow's challenge can be met as they come. Although all inventories are alike in principle, the time factor diminish or does distinguish one from another. There's a spot check inventory, taken at any time of the day, whenever we find ourselves getting tangled up. There's the one we take at day's end, when we review the happenings of the hour just past. Here we cast up a balance sheet, crediting ourselves with things well done and chalking up debts where due. Then there are those occasions when alone, or in the company of our sponsor or spiritual advisor. We make a careful review of our progress since the last time. Many AAs go in for annual or semi-annual house cleanings. Many of us also like the experience of an occasional retreat from the outside world where we can quiet down for an undisturbed day or so of self-help and meditation. Aren't these practices joy killers as well as time consumers? Must AA spend most of their waking hours drearily rehashing their sins of omission or commission? Well, hardly. The emphasis of on inventory is heavy only because a great many of us have never really acquired the habit of acute self-appraisal. Once this healthy practice has become grooved, it will be so interesting and profitable that the time it takes won't be missed. For these minutes and sometimes hours spent in self examination are bound to make all the other hours of our day better and happier. And at length, our inventories become a regular part of everyday living rather than something unusual or set apart. Before we ask what a spot check inventory is, let's look at the kind of setting in which such an inventory can do its work. It is a spiritual axiom that every time we are disturbed, no matter what the cause, there is something wrong with us. If somebody hurts us and we are sore, we are in the wrong also. But are there no exceptions to this rule? What about justifiable anger? If somebody cheats us, aren't we entitled to be mad? Can't we be properly angry with self-righteous folk? Hi, Risa. For us of AA, these are dangerous exceptions. We have found that justified anger ought to be left to those better qualified to handle it. Few people have been more victimized by resentments than have we alcoholics. It mattered little whether our resentments were justified or not. A burst of temper could spoil a day, and a well-nursed grudge could make us miserably ineffective. Nor were we ever skillful in separating justified from unjustified anger. As we saw it, our wrath was always justified. Anger, that occasionally luxury of more balanced people, could keep up on an emotional jag indefinitely. These emotional dry benders often led straight to the bottle. Other kinds of disturbances, jealousy, envy, self-pity, or hurt pride, did the same thing. The spot check inventory, taken in the midst of such disturbances, can be a very great help in quieting stormy emotions. Today's spot check finds its chief application to situations which arise in each day's march. The consideration of long-standing difficulties had better be postponed, when possible, to times deliberately set aside for the purpose. The quick inventory is aimed at our daily ups and downs, especially those where people or new events throw us off balance and tempt us to make mistakes. In all these situations, we need self-restraint, honest analysis of what is involved, a willingness to admit when the fault is ours, and an equal willingness to forgive when the fault is elsewhere. We need not to discourage when we fall into the error of our old ways, for these disciplines are not easy. We shall look for progress, not for perfection. Our first objective will be the development of self-restraint. This carries a top priority rating when we speak or act hastily or rashly. The ability to be fair-minded and tolerant evaporates on the spot. One unkind tirade or one willful snap judgment can ruin our relation with another person for a whole day or maybe a whole year. Nothing pays off like restraint of tongue and pen. We must avoid quick-tempered criticism and furious, power-driven argument. The same goes for sulking or silent scorn. These are emotional booby traps, baited with pride and vengefulness. our first job is to sidestep the traps. When we are tempted by the bait, we should train ourselves to step back and think, for we can neither think nor act to good purpose until the habit of self restraint has become automatic. Disagreeable or unexpected problems are not the only ones that call for self control. We must be quite as careful when we begin to achieve some measure of importance and material success. For no people have ever loved personal triumphs more than we have loved them. We drank of success as of a wine which could never fail to make us feel elated. When temporary good fortune came our way, we indulged ourselves in fantasies of still greater victories over people and circumstances, thus blinded by prideful self confidence. We were apt to play the big shot. Of course, people turned away from us, bored or hurt. Now that we're in AA and sober and winning back this esteem of our friends and business associates, we find that we still need to exercise special vigilance as an insurance against big shotism. We can often check ourselves by remembering that we are today sober only by the grace of God, and that any success we may be having is far more his success than ours. Finally, we begin to see that all people, including ourselves, are to some extent emotionally ill as well as frequently wrong. And then we approach true tolerance and see what real love for our fellows actually means. It will become more and more evident as we go forward that it is pointless to become angry or to get hurt by people who, like us, are suffering from the pains of growing up. Such a radical change in our outlook will take time, maybe a lot of time. Not many people can truthfully assert that they love everybody. Most of us must admit that we have loved but a few, that we have been quite indifferent to the many so long as none of them gave us trouble. And as for the remainder, well, we have really disliked or hated them. Although these attitudes are common enough, we AAs find we need something much better in order to keep our balance. We can't stand it if we hate deeply. The idea that we can be possessively loving of a few, can ignore the many, and can continue to fear or hate anybody has to be abandoned, if only a little at a time. Hi, Tim. We can try to stop making unreasonable demands upon those we love. We can show kindness where we had shown none. How's the dog doing? I was gonna say Duke. Thanks, Lily. thought his name was Duke. I couldn't remember for sure, though. We can show kindness where we had shown none. With those we dislike, we can begin to practice justice and courtesy, perhaps going out of our way to understand and help them. Whenever we fail any of these people, we can promptly admit it to ourselves always and to them also, when admission would be helpful. Courtesy, kindness, justice, and love are the keynotes by which we may come into harmony with practically anybody. When in doubt, we can always pause saying, "Not my will, but thine be done." And we can often ask ourselves, am I doing to others as I would have them do to me today? When evening comes, perhaps just before going to sleep, many of us draw up a balance sheet for the day. This is a good place to remember that inventory taking is not always done in red ink. It's a poor day indeed when we haven't done something right. As a matter of fact, the waking hours are usually well filled with things that are constructive. Good intentions, good thoughts, and good acts are there for us to see. Even when we have tried hard and failed, we may chalk that up as one of the greatest credits of all. Under these conditions, the pains and failures are converted into assets. Out of them, we receive the stimulation we need to go forward. Someone who knew what he was talking about once remarked that pains was the touchstone of all spiritual progress. How heartily we AAs can agree with him, for we know that the pains of drinking had to come before sobriety and emotional turmoil before serenity. As we glance down to depth side of the day's letter, we should carefully examine our motives in each thought or act that appears to be wrong. In most cases, our motives won't be hard to see and understand. When prideful, angered, jealous, anxious, or fearful, we acted accordingly, and that was that. Here we need our Here we need only recognize that we did act or think badly, try to visualize how we might have done better, and resolve with God's help to carry these lessons over into tomorrow, making, of course, any amends still neglected. But in other instances, only the closest scrutiny will reveal what our true motives were. There are cases where our ancient enemy, rationalization, has stepped in and has justified conduct which was really wrong. The temptation here is to imagine that we had good motives and reason when we really didn't. We constructively criticize someone who needed it. when our real motive was to win a useless argument, or the person concerned not being present, we thought we were helping others to understand him, when in actuality, our true motive was to feel superior by pulling him down. We sometimes hurt those we love because they need to be taught a lesson, when we really want to punish. We were depressed and complained we felt bad, when in fact we were mainly asking for sympathy and attention. This odd trait of mind and emotion, this perverse wish to hide a bad motive underneath a good one, permeates human affairs from top to bottom. This subtle and elusive kind of self-righteousness can underline the smallest act or thought. Learning daily to spot, admit, and correct these flaws is the essence of character building and good living. An honest regret from harms done, a genuine gratitude from blessings received, and a willingness to try for better things tomorrow will be the permanent asset we shall seek. Having so considered our day, not omitting to take due note of things well done, and having searched our hearts with neither fear nor favor, we can truly thank God for the blessings we have received and sleep in good conscience. So, let's go back to 9. Making direct amends. So, like I said on Tuesday, making direct amends to such people wherever possible. I brought up how I explained to my sister how to make an amends when she didn't feel comfortable going around this person at that time. And that was write a letter, get a card, put in this card, whatever part you played in that. Take on your responsibility for your part in it. You do not make amends to somebody else for the other person to feel better about it. That's not what it is. You make those amends to clear your conscience so you can go on with a clear head and know that you made your part of amends in that spot for whatever you needed to make your amends for. And only if it's possible. Now, like I said, the impossible, and it says here, basically, anyways, you can't make amends to somebody that is no longer here. Hence, my sponsor. Can't make amends to somebody that's no longer here to make amends to. You make them how it will, how you feel you would do that in person if that person was still here. You would make those amends at that point and be done with it. I know you're still gonna think about it and you're going to remember it and all those other things. But you have to be able to move past it. It's not easy. None of this is easy. It gets easier. But to start off, it's by far not easy. It's not going to be easy. Because you're learning to live without those things and make the amends for things that you did while you were using that thing. Using that thing, I'm meaning alcohol or, the other stuff. Sorry, I'm on YouTube and I'm not going to get booted for it. But being able to make your amends, it is a huge thing. And like I keep always say, I am still making amends. 11 years sober, and I'm still making my amends. And I end up having to make even more in a day because not every day is easy, and not every day do I feel like I'm going to be nice all day long. Because you never know. So I don't set myself up. But I do, at the end of the day, think about my actions of the day. If there is anything that I could change in that day, what would it be and how? Now, when I first got sober, my thing was I'm using my voice, and I started using it for everything. And man, let me tell you, I ran my mouth nonstop. Mostly at my dad. Because we like to argue. There's no other reason other than we like to argue. Nowadays, I don't argue with him so much. But every now and then I do get into a big argument with him. But of course, I have to go and make my amends wherever possible. And usually it's right after. I think the last time I got in an argument with my dad was, I'm not even going to bring up the topic of this argument, but it's something that me and my dad always argue about, some things that we just, we clash on. But I decided to tell him to F off, and I left. And I was there to take my mom to a doctor's appointment. Well, needless to say, I had to call my mom right away. I mean, I'm driving down the road, and I know I'm not supposed to be on my phone while I'm driving, but I'm on the phone. I called my mom. I'm like, I'm sorry, Mom. I shouldn't have done that, and blah, blah, blah. Making my amends right off the gate. And, sometimes that's exactly what I need to do. Now, me and my sister, we can get into an argument. We're neighbors. We're neighbors. In the same building. I'm upstairs, she's downstairs. Diagonally from each other. I have my door, and she has her door. And let me tell you, I know where my door is at. And if I don't want to deal with it, I just go home and I shut my door and I lock it. And I don't answer the phone. But then, of course, you gotta make your amends. It might take me a couple hours, but eventually we're making our amends. And that's both ways. I mean, we'll be texting each other like 20 minutes later, like, I'm sorry for my part in that argument. It was stupid. And please forgive me. And yeah. Can you please just write it off? Thank you. I keep going. I'm gonna keep on going. Um, but yeah, so making amends is a must. Um, I still have amends from before I got sober that I still got to make up, but they are there, and I know they are there, and some of them I can't make amends for them because much like my sponsor, these people are no longer here. So I got to figure that out for my own self. But having her going through that, as she did, I know what different things I need to do. So in 10, few people have been more victimized by resentments than have we alcoholics. It mattered little whether our resentments were justified or not. A burst of temper could spoil a day, and a well-nursed grudge could make us miserable and ineffective. Nor were we ever skillful in separating justified from unjustified anger. As we saw it, our wrath was always justified. Anger, that occasional luxury of more balanced people, could keep us on the emotional jag indefinitely. These emotional dry benders often led straight to the bottle. Other kinds of disturbances, jealousy, envy, self-pity, hurt pride, did the same thing. Yes, very much did the same thing. Because I did benders. I did benders. When I wanted to drink, I was going to drink, and nobody could tell me I couldn't drink. Or tell me that I couldn't have more. That was my big problem. Was when somebody tried to cut me off when I didn't want to be. A spot check inventory taken in the midst of such disturbances can be of very great help in quieting stormy emotions. Today's spot check finds its chief application to situations which arise in each day's march. So that's what I'm at is I do mine every day and I do it throughout the whole day. One of my biggest things, and that I get into a rant about, is work. I don't know why it's at work, but I get ticked off at these stupid machines. It's a machine. It is not going to talk back to me. Although they do beep and crap. It gets annoying. Especially when you got somebody that's right next to you that sticks the damn package right off that freaking scanner. It's like, beep, 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 beep. I'm like, oh my God, turn that fucking thing off. No, so you know what I did the other day? This guy that was next to me kept slipping his damn box right there where that stupid scanner was beeping everything. It's like, oh my God, move it. No, they left it there. I'm like, how do you not hear this? How do you not hear it going off, man? How? I've got I've got bone conducting ear thingies on, and I'm hearing this damn thing, and I'm deaf. And this stupid thing is not shutting up. So what's my idiot butt do? I reach over there and move it. And he looks at me like, takes out his earplug. I was like, sorry, man. This dumb thing is going to beep beep and you're driving me bananas. But I did not get mad at the guy. I was just, that dumb thing was irritating. And they, I work there always saying, don't do this and don't do that. And this person's got this goddamn package. I was like, please, Lord, just move the freaking box just an inch to the left or to the right or outward. Just get away from the damn scanner. Please, for the love of God. Yeah. Anyways, you learn. But I instantly told that guy sorry, so I made amends right off. And I've learned that from AA and having a sponsor that's always there, that knows what to say and how to help me. And she gets through to me when somebody else wouldn't be able to. She just knows my thoughts and my feelings on it. And I'm even like her too. So my sponsor's thing is always, you have to pray. Pray for that person for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, even though you don't want to, you still got to. And always remember to breathe. Take a deep breath in and hold it for 4 seconds and let it out. And it does help. And so, but y'all, AA is not all easy. It's not fun and games. It's learning to live through those moments of not knowing what to do next, or helping the next one to figure out what the next step is, and helping you to stay sober and for the right reasons. Always has to be for the right reason. Anyway, y'all, I am tired. It's been a long day, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and get up here and relax with the dog. He's doing yoga on the couch. He does not like me to do my yoga. I get on the floor and he thinks he needs to be on me. Anybody else can offer to pick him up. And no, he wants mom to pick him up. He wants mom to hold him. Anyways, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. A good night, guys. Thank you for coming.